Okay, let's take a look at this problem. We got x to the third minus 8x squared plus 25x minus 26 equal to 0. And the instructions are to find all complex solutions, real and non-real. People tend to think complex solution means that it has an imaginary part, an I. And that's not necessarily true. X equals 3 is a complex solution. It doesn't have to have an I, because a complex number is of the form a plus bi, and b can be 0. Okay. Now, the number here at the end, our constant term is our p. The number in front of our leading term is our q. Now, we write down all products give us 26. 1 times 26 would give us that, and 2 times 13. Now, we put pluses or minuses before all these to handle all the potential cases we might have. And for q, the number in front of the x to the third is a 1. So 1 times 1 is the only thing that will give you that. And then all of our possible rational zeros will be p over q. So I take each one of these values of p and put it over the q. So I'm going to have 1 over 1, I'll have 2 over 1, I'll have 13 over 1, and I'll have 26 over 1. And we put pluses or minuses on all these to account for all the different sign issues. So we're going to have plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 13, and plus or minus 26. Now we're going to go through and plug in each one of those. So let's see, you got 1, negative 8, 25, and negative 26. As we go through this, keep in mind this first, until we find our first answer anyway, this first one is always x to the third. Okay, so we're going to add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, and add, and we're looking for a 0 here, and there's no 0 on that one, so that's not one of our answers. I don't care what value it is. It just can't, we're looking for 0. So anything that's not a 0, we exclude. So, and I'm just going through all my possibilities here. I'm doing the plus or minus 1, then plus or minus 2, then plus or minus 13, plus or minus 26. Okay, add, multiply, what's that, 34, add, and that's not going to give you a 0 there. Okay, 2. 1, negative 8, 25, negative 26. Okay, so add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply. That's looking promising. Let me double check myself. Add, multiply the number in the box by the number down here. 2 times 1 is 2. Add, negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. Take 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. 25 minus 12 is 13. 2 times 13 is 26. Negative 26 plus 26 is 0. The fact that we get a 0 here, the factor theorem says we found a factor or we found a 0. So x equals 2 is our first answer, our first 0. Now at this point, remember I said this was x to the third. Straight down below it will be 1 degree lower. That'll be an x squared. Then once you have your first one, you have one for each one going down. So that's x squared x, and our no x, or constant term. So we're left with x squared minus 6x plus 13 equals 0. This doesn't factor, so I'm going to use quadratic formula. A is whatever's in front of our x squared, which is 1. B is whatever's in front of our x, which is negative 6. And C is our number at the end, which is 13. Quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I'm going to have a negative 6 plus or minus square root of negative 6 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 13, over 2 times a. Negative gives us positive, so we got 6 plus or minus square root. Negative 6 squared is 36 minus 4 times 1 times 13 is that? That's 52? Yeah. Minus 52 over 2 times 1, which is 2. And 36 minus 52 is negative 16. Yeah. Over 2. Now, in the square root, we got 16, and 4 times 4 gives you 16, and the negative comes as an I. So that would give us 4i over 2. And we want to split apart the real part from the imaginary part. So I got 6 over 2 plus or minus 4 over 2i. 6 divided by 2 is 3, plus or minus 4 divided by 2 is 2. So these would be our other two answers. The fundamental theorem of algebra, among other things, tells you that your largest power tells you how many answers you're going to have. Third power tells us we're going to have 3 answers. We had one real, and we had 2 non-real. 3 plus 2i and 3 minus 2i.